Yeah, that game's pretty emblematic of why I don't like rushing high tier stuff. Like in the very end there, maybe we could have gotten like a melting point in the center because he has all of those big units bunched up. Overlord's a bit better than the others because at least you can move the Overlord around, so you're not committing the 400 to 600 resources on just a single unit in a single spot, but it still commits so much to your comp and something that's pretty inflexible. Let's see. So I guess real quick, it's probably not time for like there probably is time for a full another game, but what if we just do a quick discussion on like how my opinions on the units have changed over my first day of playing as a segment for YouTube? Let's see, where should we start? Can we get... I guess just start on the top end stuff? So like the Fortress, Vulcan, Melting Point, and Overlord. Overlord feels like the least committal of them just because of the ability to go jump drive and move it around. But there just weren't many situations where I wanted to commit 600 resources into getting an Overlord instead of picking up a bunch of Phoenixes, because Phoenix is also fine into Overlord and also maintains a bunch of flexibility. Photon Emission's great. Oh, I didn't even realize you got Photon Emission on Overlord. That's cool. How often is your Overlord tanking? It's got 14k health, so it makes it 28k health. So comparing that to the other things, like Fortress has 52k. Read it? Oh, it's different? After starting the battle, project a photon coating to allies. Oh. Okay. Well, that's cool. Gives it to the whole squad. So what, you could go like Overlord. Does this stack? This stacks with the Rhino one then, right? So you can go Overlord Rhino. No? Wait, no, it doesn't stack? Coding is coding. I was told coding stacked with coding earlier, and it looked like it was. Nuclear store is 4.5%, I'm guessing, right? On taking damage. So you can go Overlord for tank instead of damage. That's kind of cool. The item stacks with the tech. So the item stacks with the tech, but the different instances of the tech don't stack? You would advise against artillery? I could see cutting... I don't know. I use artillery a lot. I think I buy artillery more than I buy mothership, and I buy mothership a lot. I guess you could just commit with your Overlord. It seems so bad. Though I guess if you're using it for a photon emission, you don't need the jump drive. Ah, jump drive's crazy. Jump drive's crazy. I like Wasp so that Melting Point doesn't counter the Overlord. Like, I've had that come up a bunch. Where my opponent builds Melting Points in response to my Overlords, and I just jam Mothership, and the game's over. The artillery comes up a bunch against other high-tier stuff. If you ever lose to a Melting Point, you did something very wrong? Wait, really? I feel like melting point's generally the thing you get when opponent has a bunch of... Because, like, melting point's good against photon armor. Or photon coating. They're all good depending on the situation. Yeah, yeah. On that unit, at least. Vulcan is always bad. One sniper with EMP will solo a melting point. I mean, you have to get the sniper to target the melting point, which isn't easy when it just hides in the back. And melting point doesn't have the same problem against the other big units, because so many of the big units want to be tanking. Like melting point against fortress, or melting point against like heavily upgraded rhinos, which feel like big units. Even overlords don't have a ton of range. With the range upgrade, oh, they do have a ton. God, overlords feel like they're melee. They have 110 range. They only have slightly less range than the Phoenix. I did not realize that. I've had Vulcan come up more tonight than I've had Overlord come up, but I think that's probably just because I didn't recognize the photon emission angle. That's really cool. Melting Point's evilly swarmed. Yeah, like, Vulcan and Melting Point are sort of opposite units. Vulcan's really good against waves of little garbage, and Melting Point's really good against a couple really big fortress-like units, if you can get it to target those things. They like complement each other pretty well, right? It's just they cost so much to get. Unless you're a giant specialist, it's pretty hard to ever have both. Like, the things that counter Melting Point are countered by Vulcan, and the things that counter Vulcan are countered by Melting Point. Unbeatable combo. I mean, I wouldn't go that far. I don't know how cost efficient they are. Like, if they have both of them, what do you go? Like, Phoenixes are okay? Balls? Like Steel Ball? Ramps up damage against both of them pretty well. Wasps? Oh yeah, Vulcan doesn't shoot up. Does it have an upgrade to shoot up? No. Yeah, Wasps are good if they've got both. Vulcan plus best partner. Get a marksman. Yeah, I haven't looked into the Vulcan upgrades. I don't know which of these are super relevant. The unit that improved the most for me over the course of the night was Mustang. I went in not really knowing what this unit's niche was, or like thinking that it was mainly good if your opponent goes Phoenixes against you. This thing does everything. Missile Interceptor makes it so that you're not countered by the Stormcallers, which I initially thought was just a hard counter to going Mustangs. And sort of what I've been doing when my opponent goes Mustangs to counter the Phoenixes. Just like throw in a couple Stormcallers, the Stormcallers eat the Mustangs, and the game's over. But, yeah, they do pretty good damage, especially as they... Whoops. As they upgrade, the damage scales nicely. Of course, damage on everything scales nicely, but... Then the Missile Interceptor stops them from getting crushed by the main AoE that would target them. And they just swarm the other flying units so well. Mustangs are cannoned by tanks, arcs, and Vulcans. Sort of? Like, one-on-one, sure. But, like, when you put them in the comp, they've got pretty good range. Like, they're not melee, so they can, like, hide behind rhinos. And they just, like, shore up the weaknesses that you have with stuff like rhinos and stuff like crawlers. Why do I value Shooting Squad over Elite Marksman on Marksman? I probably just haven't thought about it that much. I don't think I ever go for either. I just like the idea of being able to summon units. Effect increases with unit level, increasing range by 8 and attack by... Oh, it decreases range. That's cool. I can see that coming up, sure. Yeah, just haven't unlocked it. I think the only one of these upgrades that I've bought today was range enhancement. A lot of the time I'm buying marksmen, I'm just putting them near the front, so that when my opponent missiles me on the front, they eat a missile and the missile doesn't do anything else. And if they don't missile, then I get a couple of pot shots off on their team before the marksman eventually dies. And then, like, early game, marksman can be an answer to phoenixes, though, like, kind of a sketchy answer to phoenixes. Double shot, great. What do you need this against? You hit for 2.2. Doubles damage, prevents one hit immunity. Oh, it makes it so that you don't lose to the shielded phoenixes. So it just trades upgrades 1 for 1 there. I did have a game where that would have come up. Spectate some high tier games, you can get a good idea of what upgrades do what. I was watching some of Jeremiah's games yesterday. It's still just, like, really hard to follow high tier games. Because it's not even about, like, what upgrades counter what, but sometimes it's the threat of certain upgrades is preventing people from doing things. So you don't even get to see the counter. Wait, how are 2v2s easier to follow? That has to be the opposite. Yeah, I think right now I just need to get games in. What are the percentages on a quick reload? Watch one person 2v1 the game. I feel like that doesn't help much. I don't know. So I've had this come up. So, like, range enhancement double shot deals with range Phoenix plus shield on Phoenix. Quick reload to be a scuffed double shot. That was how I was thinking about it. Without knowing the percentages, I don't know how much worse it is. But I had one game where I was using Marksman as my main Phoenix counter, or like as a secondary Phoenix counter when I was also going Phoenixes, and it felt pretty good there. Love when developers don't mention exact values. It's weird because most things have the exact value, but for whatever reason, quick reload doesn't. Yeah, if you told me double shot was better, I'd believe it. Also, when it's like a battle of one shots, it kind of matters that it's just back to back. Yeah, and if the main thing that I'm buying Marksman for is like Phoenixes and I guess sometimes Overlords, but I'm mostly picking them up to deal with early game Phoenixes. I could see the game developing in a way that I want double shot range as my upgrades, or like elite Marksman plus double shot. I don't know how often people buy shield Phoenixes. Marksman is 4 must-have upgrades. I mean, the thing about the upgrades is they're all situationally good. Like, how often are you getting more than 2 upgrades on Marksman? They get so expensive. Having the option of the... Yeah. Elite Marksman will allow you to one-shot giant units and outrange Stormcallers. One-shot giant units. Wait, really? 30% per level. So when you have a level 3 Marksman, it shoots for 9k, right? So you 2-shot? How do you get it up to 1-shot? Does it scale with another thing? I guess double shot. Each level. Oh, right. So it's 90%. So you're doing doing like 12k a shot, 13k a shot, something like that. It's still two-shotting overlords, right? Two-shotting level 1 overlords. Third isn't the highest level. Sure. Can get so much higher. I think I had a level 4 one once. I don't think I've gotten higher than level 4. No, I think I had a level 5 one when I started as the level 3 marksman. Interesting. Yeah, I'll think about marksman's more. Yeah, I think of marksman more as like a complementary unit that I sometimes get like an upgrade for in most games. I'll usually have like 3-4 marksmen on the battlefield, and they're mostly there to serve like a small purpose of like being a backup answer to phoenixes or to eat missiles or something like that. Yeah, fangs. I really like portable shield fangs. Like portable shield ignite if your opponent gets something big, or like portable shield range enhancement if you portable shield mechanical rage if you want to deal with like phoenixes or wasps. What do you think about Arclight? I like Arclight for the first couple turns of the game, and then I often just like end up kind of forgetting about it. But I don't know if I've ever bought one of these upgrades. There were a couple times where I could have considered anti-aircraft ammunition, but I always wanted to just go Mustangs instead. Elite Arclights. The thing about Arclights is they do get good EXP early if you're in the right matchup for them. So I can definitely see that coming up. So does this scale multiplicatively with Charge Shot, Elite, Marksman? I don't know what I want to get rid of. I definitely can't get rid of AA. Maybe Armor. You assume they go off base? It's just off base. Okay. So then I probably don't need Charge Shot. They do 397. So if you increase it by 200, they're hitting for like 1,000, 1,100. I guess that lets you... Feels like Rhino's kind of fast. And then if they're trying to go like Rhino Fangs, you're getting them with some splash. Or like Rhino Crawlers, you're still getting them with some splash. Those don't have the damage irrelevant outside of clearing trash. Yeah, that's what I've been using them for. I usually just have like a couple Arclights laying around from the early game, and then I just forget about them. And their whole job is just clearing up trash. EM's important to counter self-destruct. Yeah, I haven't had self-destruct come up in a game. I don't think anyone's used it against me. The final blitz thing? Or is there another self-destruct? You know my weakness? Well, it's just like you have to see it in order to respect it, right? If you never see it come up, you never think about it. There's a strat where you use 5 to 6 early Arknights, give them range so they're able to farm XP and keep them relevant into the late game. Interesting idea. We could try something like that tomorrow. And you take advantage of Elite Marksman. I'll keep Charge Shot around. I could see that coming up. Get range up and Charge Shot. Elite Marksman really late. It's a cool idea. Yeah. It's really nice as they upgrade too. And then you just like find some other way to clear the air. There's no way you're getting all 4 upgrades, right? You can complement it with like Phoenixes. Arclights do a pretty good job of clearing the Mustangs. And then Phoenixes do a pretty good job of clearing, like, Rhinos and shit. Other Phoenixes. Crawler started out as one of my favorite units, and it's still one of my favorite units. Oh, alright, KG. Yeah, we're wrapping up here. We're just doing a quick little discussion that I'll probably throw up on YouTube. I feel like it's really hard to find resources to learn the game right now. Like, if you want to watch top players play, you can. But it's... I don't know if it's just me, but I have a hard time learning just from watching gameplay. And there's... At least I couldn't find any resources for, like, discussing the units and just, like, getting an overview of what does what. And it takes a pretty significant amount of time to just learn that by playing the game. Or watching the game. So I think putting up these little conversations on YouTube could be cool. Just to have a resource like that where just, like, discussing the interactions of things. Winter gaming's good. Yeah, but again, like, when you go into a stream, you're getting, like, gameplay, and maybe you can ask questions, but it's hard to learn by just, like, watching the game get played. But yeah. Oh, Naruto. Thanks for the raid. We were just wrapping up here. Hey, Mr. Dressers. Gonna make guides on a second YouTube channel knowing him? Yeah, maybe. But for now, just, like, more on-ramps into the game I think are important, and I feel like these sorts of discussions, after people play, like, 1 or 2 games, gives them a starting point to start thinking about the game and, like, have cohesive strategies come together. Where, like, I wouldn't want to get into the game just, like, having someone tell me, okay, jam Rhino plus Fangs, buy these upgrades no matter what your opponent does, and then you'll slowly figure out the game from there. I'd rather have more of an understanding of the units and try to develop my own strategies, even if it doesn't, like, work out the first time. Especially to lower MMR, I feel like it's a better way of learning the game, is, like, trying to get an understanding rather than just trying to jam a strategy that is going to bully people out of the game because the strategy is powerful. What do I think of Sledge? I think of Sledge and Steel Ball as really similar units. Sledge is a little bit better against swarms of stuff, and Steel Ball is really nice against high-tech stuff. Like, Steel Ball against Rhino I've had success with. Steel Ball against just, like, high-tier stuff in general. Steel Ball against opposing... what is it? Arclights. I tend to like Steel Ball more than Sledge. Did you try this one out? Yeah, this game's cool. It's got a pretty tough learning curve to get into it. Steel Ball plus Hacker. Yeah, I've only bought Hacker the one time. I bought the Hacker against an opponent that had some Steel Balls, and it was pretty good. I think it, like, mind-controlled all 4 of the Steel Balls at some point during the fight. I imagine, like, against Link, if they take Link, it's pretty cool. But every time my opponents took Link, they died for it. I'm scared to take this for how bad that it was for my opponents. The idea of energy absorption plus damage sharing is really cool until the opponent buys Steel Balls, and the ramping damage just kills all of your Steel Balls at once. I feel like the existence of Steel Ball invalidates damage sharing. Damage sharing is great. Damage sharing is great until... until Steel Ball happens. I don't know. Every time my opponent went damage sharing on either Sledges or Steel Balls, I just bought a couple of Steel Balls and the game was over. The economy is strangely deep, not only about XP, but unit XP. XP, unit XP, and the amount of units that you get to buy, I think are all really interesting. I think the prioritization of when to buy your upgrades too, like when to try to maximize for XP and strength versus when to just get more stuff on the board, is pretty interesting. Because there are turns where you have the option to buy an upgrade for like 50 or 100 gold, but doing so, you're not able to buy a second unit for the turn. Knowing when you should take the upgrade versus when to just get another unit on the board, I think is pretty interesting. I've been leaning more towards getting the more units going, but I could be convinced that that's wrong as I play more. Yeah, chat has mostly been telling me that they lean towards upgrades. I think generally you get more strength taking the upgrade immediately, but the upgrades give you granularity on your gold in future turns that you wouldn't have. It just lets you spend your gold better on some turns having those upgrades available. Because like there'll be turns on like turn 6 or 7 where I'll buy like 2 marksmen and just upgrade my whole squad. You would never buy giant units either? Kind of? I don't know. I get that argument, I just find it difficult to want to spend money on damage sharing instead of getting damage units. Like, this is something that costs you gold. Giants are great with equipment. Yeah, most of the time that I went damage units tonight, I was just doing it because I had a reason to, or I had it free. I had like Aerial Expert and I would grab Overlords. Or it went super late in the game and I had like 2k gold, and at that point, yeah, I'll pick up some Melting Points or I'll pick up some Vulcans to shore up weaknesses. I feel like most of the time it was really hard to justify spending 200 gold to upgrade or to unlock a giant unit. When I could just like buy more Phoenixes, get some upgrades. Or spread out my tech more and have more different threats on the battlefield. I'm saying you should get damage sharing pre-round 5. I'm saying that if I could take damage sharing, I think I would rather unlock a high tier unit and get that down. And I don't like unlocking high tier units and getting them down. It just doesn't... It feels like it's opening you up to the damage scaling when you don't need to. Like, steel balls are already fine into steel balls. And then once you take damage sharing, your opponent's steel balls just murder you. And you spent gold for the privilege. That's been how it's felt. Every time my opponent took damage sharing, they lost for it. Now, not saying that that's always going to be true at every level. Like, I'm sure that this doesn't hold, but from my experience playing the game so far, damage sharing's felt like a giant bait. Melting Point level 3 has a brick ton of XP. I mean, these also have a ton of HP. At level 3 Steel Ball, you have a combined, what, like 4k? 40k? And yeah, like as these upgrade. I guess like a level 1 Fortress has like the same as damage linked Steel Balls. And what, this costs you 600 to get into? Where like having... Oh, you would also never have just like one set of Steel Balls. You would want to have like 2 or 3 all linked together. So these numbers look a little different. Heard the perk for shooting missiles is bad too. Yeah, I didn't utilize shields or missiles as much as I think I maybe should. But at the same time, I was pretty happy every time my opponent missiled me. So I pretty much only used the spells that I got off of the selections in exchange for 50 gold because I get to use them multiple times over the course of the game. I pretty much always leaned towards upgrading or getting more stuff versus putting a shield down. And I'm sure that that's wrong as you approach higher levels of play. But at the level that I'm playing at, it's better to just have more stuff. but I'm interested to see how that changes as I play against better players. But that's the kind of thing where that's just gonna, as I level up and fight better players, it'll come up more. I'll see how they utilize shields and be able to take advantage of it more. But yeah, I think that is going to be it for the stream tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll probably do like one of these discussions every night, like a half hour at the end of the stream, just a summary of what we've learned and try to learn the game that way. Let's find someone to host. I find 2v2 is a lot more fun than 1v2. I hate 2v2. If I wanted to play 2v2s, I'd play Legion TD. If I'm playing this game, I'm just gonna play it solo. Let's send it over to Captain Mars. Let's chill in this directory.